Hello, beautiful angels. It is Olivia Grace, and I am back with another video for you guys. And today we're talking about revision and the illusion of time. And they actually go hand in hand because revision is about changing the past. And of course, how can you change the past if we believe in linear time, that time only moves forward? So we're going to be talking about that today. So let's start with the illusion of time. But before I get into that, actually, you guys, if you're into like manifesting and connecting with your God self, connecting with your creator, then you should subscribe. You should be a part of this channel. Also, you guys, I've decided to open my coaching back up. My coaching's been closed for a while now. But I am offering one-on-one sessions, and they are going to be donation based. So yeah, I will have a link for you guys to schedule a session with me, and a link for for you guys to pay your donation. I'm not sure how long I'll be offering that. But if you are wanting coaching right now, then this would be a really good time to get it. So I'll have that there. But anyways, let's hop into the video. So let's talk about time first, because that's going to help us understand revision, especially if you're new to revision. And literally, guys, I've been meaning to make this video for months, and because I had specific things that I revised that had manifested really cool, but I literally can't think of any of them right now. So maybe I'll make another video when I'm sure more will happen from it, but I still have a few examples to show you guys how I've seen revision work in my life. But let's talk about time first, okay? And first, let's talk about the fact that there are parallel realities. Well, and this is my belief, right? So if that's not your belief, then okay. But there is more than just this version of you that is existing in this life, that has had these things happen to her or him in that life, that, is the person that you are. There are infinite versions of you. And not only are there infinite versions of you, there are infinite versions of you existing simultaneously at all stages of life. So, example, your baby self is still in existence right now. Although we experienced our baby self in the past, because in Earth, we have time. It's part of our earthly experience to really be able to fully be immersed in this simulation or whatever it is. Time plays into that. Time is a big part of that. However, outside of Earth, I'm not sure about other planets. I don't know. But in the grand scheme of things, there is no time. God is not experiencing time outside of us, right? Like the ultimate bigness is not subject to the laws of time, basically, if that makes sense. I intend that makes sense. So, because all versions of you are existing, and because all time is existing now, there's no moment other than now. We experience, like, if you even think about it, you can go to the past in your mind, you can go to the future in your mind, but your experience is now. Even when you go to those things, you're experiencing it as a now moment. So now is all that exists. So when you're knowing that now is all that exists, all of these, that's why Neville talks about creation is finished, right? There's nothing to create. There's not like there's only states, like Neville calls it, that you can occupy. And you occupy that with your consciousness. You occupy that with your identity. And essentially, this is what we're doing when we're manifesting, is we are transferring through these states, through time, through different versions of ourselves. If you think about who you were 5 or 10 years ago, that person is probably a completely different person than who you are now. the person that you will be 5 or 10 years from now is probably a completely different person than who you are now. But it's all still you. So I'm hoping that this makes sense to you guys, because honestly, it's pretty difficult to explain, because time is something that we all accept as true. It's very difficult for our mind to bend to that. But when you understand this, though, it makes your manifestation so much quicker and easier to believe, because that's about to get into revision. Before I actually get into revision, I want to give you guys a visual of what I'm talking about. When you think about a movie being shot, they are shooting each scene, right? And then they go back and they put those scenes all together to form a movie that you will watch, you will press play and watch from beginning to end. But those scenes exist beyond that movie. The scenes exist individually apart from that movie, is what I mean. So although when you experience the movie, you're watching it from beginning to end, each scene in that movie existed independently of the time. I'm again going to intend that makes sense. You guys, it's a really trippy thing to talk about. And I hope I am doing you justice, but so those scenes, now you can occupy the same way that an actress, maybe she's shooting a scene where she has a mental breakdown today. She's shooting that scene, but she can come out of that scene, out of that character, and she can come into another scene. She can come into maybe the end when she's resolved all of her things and she's had her character arc or whatever. She can come into that and she can be that. Okay. So that's basically, I'm not even going to keep like trying to explain, but if that makes sense, I intend that makes sense. That is the best way that I can think of to explain how time is an illusion. Even if you think about the clock, right? Or if you even think about hours or minutes, who decided that? Someone decided that these things were what they were. Someone decided to split our time into 12 parts. They could have split it into 3 parts. They could have split it into however, but these things were man-made, decided, right? So it's not a universal truth. And as a manifester, it comes in handy to know that things are not concrete. And now here, let me get into revision, because here's the magic of revision, you guys, is that, of course, you guys know our past a lot of times determines who we are, who we're choosing to be. It's like, well, I've always been mistreated in my past. I've been mistreated since I was a child. So I'm a person that's unworthy, right? And you have, from that one idea of yourself in the past that was formed in the past, stems a whole personality or character that you take on, right? So when you are able to revise and start to identify, right? Like what I just talked about with the scenes or the states that are existing simultaneously, because everything, we animate these states with our consciousness, right? Again, just like I said, when you experience a memory, you're experiencing the memory in the... Wow, my phone literally was like ringing. That always happens. Let me put it... Okay. You're experiencing the past, even when you're remembering something, even when you're manifesting, right? Which is a big thing that Neville talks about, is when you're doing your scene or when you're doing your visualization, you are taking your consciousness to that moment in the future. You are literally transporting yourself, because this body is not yourself. This body, I mean, it is yourself. It's part of yourself, but it's not your capital S self. It's not who you actually are. It's what you're animating at this moment. So your consciousness is your actual self. This is why you can go to the future and create or plant yourself into your future scene. This is also why you can plant yourself in the past and create it in a way where things worked out differently for you. Now, there are different ideas about what does this mean, or how does that actually like really does. So if I grew up poor and, you know, I revised that I always grew up rich, are my parents going to have like a big mansion, or is that really what's going to happen? Now, again, this is where you decide, right? Because some people believe that you can in fact change. I mean, there's a teacher on YouTube that revised that her family was rich growing up, and it literally affected her now to where her parents had money, and it was like it had almost like she had literally jumped parallel realities and jumped like quantum jump dimensions. Okay, so it is possible. It's doable because people are doing it. It's really about what you believe, what you can believe. You know, I don't not believe that, but I will have to experience that myself to say that that's true. But apparently it is. So I will give you guys some examples of revision that has happened in my life, and I'll do some more explaining. So here's the first one is very silly and simple, but it shows how revision is. And Neville always suggests to revise your day every day. And before I get into the stories, I want to touch on that really quick, because I don't really do that, but sometimes when I find myself not really having trouble falling asleep or whatever, I'll do that. But the reason why is because every day you are like, the things that you're seeing, your circumstances you're coming across, the people you're coming across, the things that are going on, especially the things that you don't necessarily want to be going on, are showing you again who you're being. They're showing you who you're being. They're showing you who you identify as. So let's say, you know, every day, or you're noticing when you're revising, oh, this person was rude to me at work. You know, when you go back and revise that every night, you're rewriting that identity of people having a negative experience with people and so on, you know, with whatever it is that you revise in your day. Basically, your day is full of moments, especially the problems in your day. They're full of moments that are showing you where your consciousness currently is, right? And so by doing that every day, you're automatically rewriting your story in its entirety without having to search and find, because you're looking at just what happened today. Okay. Anyways, now to the story. So this one, like I said, is very silly and simple, but I had wanted a burrito, right? And I wanted a burrito with like the queso on top, not just the burrito without any sauce on top. Like I wanted a saucy burrito with the queso. So I had literally this day drove around to like 3 or 4 different restaurants because nobody had that, which is so funny because it's like everywhere. But this particular day, I couldn't find anyone that had it. And so the last place that I went there, and I went there because they had a picture of the burrito that I wanted with the sauce on it. And when I went, the girls were kind of rude. Well, one of them, she didn't speak any English. And the other girl that spoke English was kind of like, she wasn't rude, but she just didn't want to help. And she was just like, well, that's a breakfast burrito. And I'm like, well, can't you just tell them, like, I could pay extra. Can't you just tell them to put some queso on top? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, was going to charge me like $9 for like a full thing of queso. And I was just like, you know, it's fine, you know, never mind. Like, it's all good. Like, I just wanted like a little bit over the top. I don't need like a whole thing of queso, right? So that night I went to bed and I was revising my whole day. And it's so funny because when I got to that part of my day, I was like, what is the point of me revising this, right? I was like, there's no way that this can be fixed. I mean, what am I going to do? Wake up in the morning and have a burrito at my door? That's not going to happen, you know? But I was like, you know, whatever. Why not? Why not just revise it? You know, at least in the future, I'll get better customer service or something. So the next day, I didn't end up finishing my burrito that day. So the next day, I decided to go to Chipotle and get a side of queso to put on the rest of my burrito because the burrito wasn't really that good. So I got to Chipotle to get the side of queso. And when I got there, I got to like the register to pay, and the guy was like, "Oh, is that all that you have?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, well, you can just take it for free." And I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, just take it." I was like, "Okay." I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've never gotten anything free from Chipotle. You know what I mean? But I didn't think it was a coincidence that I revised the scene of me basically not getting what I want. And then the next day, I get exactly what I want at no cost to me, right? So that's like a cute way. And that's, I guess, the second way, because I don't think I explained that, which is that what I find with revision is that when you revise something, it affects your future, not so much that I wake up and I have, I hopped into a dimension where my burrito actually does have queso on it. But people are doing that. So I'm not going to discourage you guys to not to do that, But for me, what I experience is that whatever it is rectified in the or in the future. I have a couple more stories, and these have to do with people that I know. So one was with my brother. I have been manifesting an apartment for my brother since like last summer. And that was one of the first things I wanted to do for him when I learned about the law of assumption. And I had been assuming it, and it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. And so maybe like a week or two ago, I thought of it again. And I was like, man, that's something that never happened. Like I assumed that, but it never happened. And then I was like, no, but yes, it did. It did happen. It did happen. Yeah, it already happened. It has happened. And I just kind of accepted that in my mind. And I started to, because my brother, first of all, he lives in the city. He lives in the city in Chicago. And it's not, if you guys know about Chicago, it's not the safest place everywhere, But just with his specific circumstance, if he were to get like the things that were keeping him from getting an apartment, if he were to get an apartment, it would be in like a really bad area and just all of that. And so I was considering these things because at this point, I know that my assumptions harden into fact. When I say that something's going to happen, I'm knowing that that's going to happen. So I was like, well, I don't want him to be in an unsafe area though. And, I started to think all this, and then I was like, it doesn't matter. No, he's going to be in a safe area. It's going to be what I say it's going to be. He's going to be in a safe area, and he has an apartment. That's it. Literally like a week later, my brother tells us that he somehow, like, because he had things on his record that were preventing him from being able to apply to certain apartments and houses and things like that. And he said that for some reason it just wasn't showing up anymore. Like he would go onto like Zillow and go and apply for apartments, and all these places that he could never apply to, all of a sudden he was able to apply to them. And he ended up getting approved, and he says he's moving in on the 1st, and he's in a place that's in a really nice part of town where it's like a safe part. And he even said to me, he was like, I know you guys manifested this for me because and he's talking about me and my family, me and my sister, my mom, but he's like, because I never would have thought I could get an apartment in the neighborhood that I'm getting an apartment. So that's another way of revising, which is really helpful, you guys, when things are not going the way that you want, or things are looking like it's not really working out. Revise it on the spot, Oh, no, it's not really working. Revise it. Yes, it is actually. Yes, it is. Because all of these things, like I said in the beginning, all of these scenes are simultaneously existing. So yeah, there is a scene where it's not working, and there's a scene where it is. And you can put your consciousness, because your consciousness is choosing which scene that you're occupying, you can put your consciousness on the scene where it is working. And you can make that switch just like that. Just like that. The last one was with a friend of mine, and she was selling a business of hers. And at the time that she was selling it, she was pregnant. And so I remember like thinking, because she had been trying to sell the business for like a year and wasn't able to sell it. And I remember when she told me that, I was like, perfect, I'm going to manifest that for her. And I was like, okay, so she's already sold the business. Like, it's already sold. Like, of course, I assumed it, right? And I said, she's gonna sell the business by the time she has the baby, before she has the baby. That was my assumption. So time goes on. She has the baby. And it's actually been like a month maybe or two after the baby was born, and she still hadn't sold the business. And again, it was just like with my brother. I was like, I assumed that she was going to sell the business before, because I honestly, like, I'd be thrown off. Like, when it doesn't really go exactly how I say, I'm like, really? I could have sworn I assumed that it would. Like, so I was thinking that, and then I was like, but she did sell the business. Like, literally, like, complete delusional, you guys. Like, I always tell you guys, the more delusional that you can be, the better manifester that you can be. Because being delusional is looking at what is in front of you. That's literally what manifesting is, because when you're looking at what's in front of you, that's what throws everybody off. Is the 3D, what's in front of me, what it looks like, right? But what it looks like doesn't matter. What it looks like is what you already created. So you can create something new, but you're not going to create it. You're not going to create it by being hypnotized and being stuck on what is. Instead of being stuck on what is, keep your minds on God. Keep your mind on that power. Anyways, I was like, no, she did sell it. Y'all, when I tell you it was that day, I believe it was that day, a couple hours later, she called me and was like, hey girl, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I just sold the business. We just went and signed the papers and everything like that. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I couldn't tell her because she's like not into manifesting or anything like that. So, but I was just like, what the fuck? Like, that was like instant. It was like a couple of hours between me being like, no, actually she did. And you guys, brazen impudence, I want to do a separate video on that as well, because y'all, that is what really gets you to move. That is what gets you to move from here to there instantly. Okay. And the thing is, you guys, with the explanation of time, if you're catching this live, whoever this one person is that's watching me, hello, you should watch this from the beginning, because I explain time, because that is important for you to know. When you know that there's not any time, you guys, because we'll think like when you have a goal for, maybe a lot of money, or maybe changing your body, or something that's, your health or something like that. Satina, oh my gosh, I love you. Yay, that just made me so happy. But yes, when you I completely forgot what I was saying. I just got so happy to see you, Satina. But time, right? Time is not real. So, but when you know that though, and when you're trying to do something that seems difficult, or it seems like it'll take a lot of time, there is no time, you guys. So it kind of it can knock that out to where things can happen quicker. Things can happen quicker. And yeah, revision, you guys, revise. I will challenge you guys. I really want to challenge you guys to do a 30-day gratitude challenge, because I'm about to do that, but I need to really make a separate video, and I really actually need to like go right now. So I may or may not like talk about that later, but I do challenge you that if you're seeing this, to simply revise something, because there's something else I can't even remember, but there was something else that had happened where I was like, I started to revise it, and I was like, how can I, like, what could ever happen from this? Like, what could happen from me revising this? And I did it anyway, and something crazy happened. So I challenge you guys to actually try it, because revision is one of those things, especially if you guys are like, if you somehow stumble across this video and you don't know anything about like the law of assumption or anything, you're probably like, girl, what are you talking about? But you have to try it for yourself. You're literally just the same way that you're manifesting and creating the future. You are manifesting and creating the past, and basically putting yourself on a different life track. They've done this on like Rick and Morty, Family Guy. Like, I don't know if y'all watch that stuff, but yeah. Anyways, I'm going to stop rambling. I love you guys. And I'm intending that all of this helps you and prospers you in your life. And I'll be back with another video soon.